Here we go, live at the Doing It Production Studios. We're super excited, totally anticipated. Can't wait for this to happen today. We've got two wonderful gentlemen in the house. They're going to be doing a jazz drill thing. Let me introduce them, Mac and Xvngo.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing, guys? Thank you
well.
ever so much for coming down. I mean, this has been anticipated and long awaited. We're really, really super excited, like I said, to have you down. The aim of today is basically to get you to tell people who you are, what this is all about. You've produced a lot of fabulous tracks. We've been listening to them all week, and we're really, really looking forward to hearing these go live, because you're going to perform two tracks for us live as well after we do the interview. So let's hand it over to you. Mac, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Mac, 22 years of age. I play piano, I produce, and I'm one half of Mac and Xvngo, which is probably quite obvious.
Xvngo, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Xvngo, 22 as well. I met Matt at sixth form. I play the saxophone. We created this jazz drill thing, and I'm also a student of neuroscience.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so the jazz drill thing, I mean, where was the combination? How did that come about?
Well, it was just a natural consequence of what we were up to. When I got to sixth form, me and Matt would listen to a lot of drill music, because around 2016, 2017, this is when everything really started popping off in terms of Harlem Spartans, Lowski, 6-7, 150, all these different groups from London really popping up and making a name for themselves. We also came from our own traditional background. So I'm a jazz saxophonist from that tradition, and he's a classical pianist.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also used to make beats, so it only made sense to put it all together, because that's what we did. And I remember the first time we heard a drill beat over one of our tunes, and it was like, like we walked through a portal.
Really? Incredible.
It was crazy.
Yeah, so it just all kind of fell into place for you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you two, like you said, you met at college.
Yeah, we
and
did.
you hit it off straight away.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we were in the same music class. So we had music lessons together, and we've always been creative in that sense, and out of the box type of guys. Like, we just try and always just be strange.
That's a good combination.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we had so many fun times in that music class. Yeah, we were getting up to a lot of madness in that class as well, you know. But,
a good type of madness.
So at what point did you think, hold on, we're going to turn this into Mac and Xvngo? When did that sort of come?
That was a bit later. So the music came first, and the idea of jazz drill. And we were just experimenting. It was not only just drill music, it was hip hop. It was mainly hip hop, actually, to start off with.
We started off as hip hop producers. We used to rap with our friends, like, we used to bunk class and go and rap about like all this.
So you hadn't found a sort of a path, really, then? You were just
not really,
using all your influences and trying to feel your way along. And so again, the combination developed over what period? A couple of years?
Yeah, a few years. So from college until uni, that's when we were developing the ideas that we had.
It was only until uni, about 2018, when we decided, okay, let's make the jazz drill thing. But then it was only 2020, actually, last year, when we were like, okay, let's put this out.
Right.
Prior to that, we had loads of beats and stuff.
But you were stacking these. These were sort of personal. You wasn't putting anything out at that time.
Yeah, it was actually very personal, because we would just freestyle within our group. And literally these freestyles would just happen in the park or behind my house or in my garden, you know. And we weren't. I wouldn't say we were scared to share our music. It was just about when the right time would come.
It's also just what we didn't do at that time.
Yeah.
We weren't in the habit of releasing our music. And I think it was good that we waited until we were a bit more mature. Because if we'd come out as like a rap group talking about this and that, and like talking about things that I'm like right now, I'm like, oh, I'm not really sure if I would be talking about, you know what I mean? I don't think it would have been as good as us coming out kind of developing our concept, and like with a clear-cut agenda and idea.
Yeah. So when did the first sort of project really take its seedling and grow into a track? So what was the first track?
Oh, My Lady.
My
the
Lady.
first one.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that track. That's a
Thank
good
you.
track. Yeah. I like the sample that you've used in that. It's really incredible.
cheers,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oh, it's funny you say that because the track started with that sample. Yeah, and this I sampled it from a composer called Dowland.
Yes.
He's like a Renaissance composer, and we were studying him at college. So I was like, yeah, I need to sample this. Like we both were like, need to sample this guy.
Yeah.
We were actually always sampling. Like anything we heard, we were like, yeah, sample this.
Sampling it, stacking it, and then bringing it back out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That track, My Lady. I mean, so you released that. That was on.
Everything, Spotify, YouTube.
And was that on your label? Because you've got a label as well.
Right,
haven't you?
yeah, on Dogon Records.
Dogon Records.
But we actually sat on that track for 2 years.
Yeah.
We first made it in 2018, and that was the first ever Jazz Drill track. And I remember like the scenes, because this is when I first started playing saxophone again around 2018, and I was like so dedicated to playing.
What do you mean you started playing saxophone again? So did you have a break?
I took a little break in
I see.
when I got to university. I took a little break. My cousin broke my saxophone, and then I wasn't all there like mentally. But then I came back thanks to Gary Crosby and Tomorrow's Warriors. They gave me a new saxophone, supported me, and I was really dedicated to playing. And I remember coming to Matt's house, and he was like, "Yeah, I made this beat. What do you think of it?" I was like, "Yeah," and I just like first take. Play the tune basically, like we made it in one take.
So it's your fault.
It's my fault. Yeah. Did you say that? Because I remember that day clearly. It was a summer, and we knew that we had to make something that day. We knew something. It was kind of like, you know, when there's an essence to the day, to a certain day, and you know something special might happen.
I must say, from talking to you guys just now and previously to this as well, you've got a real good synergy between the two of you, which doesn't come along very often. Do you know what I mean? So it seems like you've got a combination of something that's going to really grow.
Thank you, man.
Don't you feel that?
Yeah.
I mean, did that happen from the off?
Yeah.
Was that something that you kind of both? Did you didn't know each other before college?
Not before college, yeah. But yeah, when we met, it was obvious to us that we'd have to stay together, sit together, and just work together for sure, because Matt coming from the classical background, me coming from the jazz background,
sure,
but then also us having similar interests in terms of like outside of music, in terms of like philosophy and art and
exactly. You totally seem on the same wavelength, which is, you know, I mean, for two guys that just met in a college, it's quite rare, don't you think? And again, like I mean, we were discussing earlier as well. Explain your background in the classical pianist.
Yeah,
because I found that really interesting. How did that begin? Where did you start with that?
So I started I started playing properly when I was about 7.
And this is keys. We're talking piano.
Yeah, on the keyboard. So my mum got me a Casio piano with light up keys that you can learn from, and it had all the songs you can think of, like Twinkle Twinkle. It had like even Few Release, Turkish March by Mozart and all of that, and I fell in love with it. So I started learning that myself, and the program on the piano would teach me. So I was just doing that for a few years. My dad would always have me performing for people when they come over and stuff.
That's amazing.
And yeah, and I kind of got like used to playing in front of people, and I loved it. So fast forward, I was about 9, and there was a talent show at school. And my dad said, no, play some of the songs there. And I played, and there was a lady who is the head of the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And then she picked me up and decided to buy me a piano, like a proper upright one. And
that's
gave me
incredible.
lessons. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so from there, I got proper lessons in a method called the Suzuki method. And that entails bringing up kids from an early age, teaching them all the rudiments of classical music and so on. And yeah, I just got stuck in from there, and I kept going until I was about 16 or 17. And then from college, I kind of stopped playing a bit.
Okay.
But I still continue my journey of learning like independently.
I mean, it must be hard for a young man in you know, with so much happening around the world now, to sort of be able to focus on, say, playing classical piano.
It is quite difficult because it takes a lot of dedication, a whole load of dedication.
I mean, that is something I wanted to. That is something I kind of wanted to focus on. I mean, you know, we've again, you know, with so many influences around the world, it's having that dedication to focus on a specific instrument or even a specific sound and style. So you must have had something inside of you that just triggered that, I think. No?
The dedication.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. I had parents that kind of nurtured me. They always used to tell me like, okay, do 2 hours practice when you come in, 2 to 3 hours, and I'll do that every day. So that's where that kind of came from. So
that's what I was trying to focus on, is the fact that, you know, you had to do the practice. Even if you've got a natural ability, you still have to put those hours in to get what you want from. And again, some fantastic support from your parents, it sounds like.
Amazing. Like back then, that's the funny thing is I didn't really see it as, I thought it was just work. I just saw it as work, if I'm honest. And as I got older, the appreciation came for it, and the appreciation for the music, just having that love for it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And I feel like that was an important way for me to go through it.
That's amazing.
I found that, that love.
That's really encouraging to hear. I love that. I love that. Xvngo, same kind of story with you? How did it happen with you? What was the materialization? I mean, I find, you know, the sax is obviously quite a unique instrument to pick, especially out of the sort of, all the instruments are out there, and especially with tech now. There's a lot of technology out there that you wouldn't even have to pick up an instrument. How did you fall into that?
Well, so I started playing the piano when I was around like 6 to 8, somewhere in between there. And when I first started playing, it was a lot of like church style music. And I actually played the piano in church for like a significant amount of years, maybe like 10 years or something like that, from like when I was very, very young up until just recently. And so I've been playing the piano up until about the age of 13. I'll tell you how I actually ended up getting into jazz. It's kind of funny. I had a mentor called Lindsay Johns at this thing called Leaders of Tomorrow. And we used to like go to the theatre and go to like conferences and just learn about the world quite widely when I was a child. And we used to often go to America and meet with the other chapters of this leadership program. So there was this one time I went to America and Lindsay said, let me look at the music that you listen to on your phone.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, no. So I gave him my phone, and then he was like, sort of like Walk a Flock of Flame, like gigs.
Standard for
like a kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like hip hop, America, UK and stuff. But he was like a very traditional person, and he was obviously trying to instill very particular values in me. So for like an hour, he was just like shouting at me, why are you listening to this music? Stop listening. Just like, even like to the point where he was like swearing, like, and I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And I went home.
Who was this again?
One of my mentors.
What's his name?
Oh, Lindsay Johns. Lindsay Johns, yeah. Absolutely love him. I like a large part of my characters from
him. Yeah, exactly. Nice influence.
So I was terrified, and I went home, and then I was like, let me just listen to some different type of music. And I started listening to loads of jazz, and I downloaded like as much jazz as I could, and then I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Really started to fall in love with it, and then that's when I started playing the clarinet.
So you started on the clarinet?
Yeah. Okay. And I was advised by my friend Kaidi, who's another amazing saxophonist, and he just put out an album actually. But an amazing saxophonist. And he told me, play the clarinet, and then you can play the saxophone. And he was playing the saxophone at that time. So I played the clarinet for some years, then I went to the alto sax, then soprano sax, and then finally on my own tenor now.
That's a real journey as well.
Yeah.
Wow, you both had a real journey through like learning your instruments and the progression of the production that's got you to where you are now.
Yeah. It's really
the production. Yeah. Sorry, bro.
Go on.
Yes. Even the production side of it is a journey in itself for me. Like I started learning how to like produce when I was about 12. And I was just from...
excuse me? You learning to produce when you was what?
When I was about 12.
12?
Yeah.
Okay. Lego.
Lego.
Well, most kids are playing with Lego at 12.
It's true.
Yeah. And you're doing production?
Yeah.
That's
and that was from my older brother. He showed me a free program. So we were trying to get Logic. Then in the process of trying to get Logic, the pirated version, he came across this program. It was so sick. So it had like literally 4 tracks, because it was a demo, and then that's how I kind of learned. I started delving, using some classical piano and putting that into a beat, putting a drum loop over it. I just fell in love from there, and I really want to be like Dr. Dre. You know, that was my idol at the time.
Of course.
You know, like Still Dre was my favorite beat because of the piano on it and the drums, and I was like, yeah, I need to make something like this. So my aim was always to kind of like get to that level.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So yeah, and I just stuck to it over the years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember, I started producing when I was about 14 or 15. Just using.
And what was you going to use? What was you using at the time?
Just the equipment at school.
Okay.
At my secondary school, I used to just stay over. But I remember, I'll never forget being a kid and like making this beat and thinking this is so bad. I was like on the verge of tears, and my friends were like, "Don't worry, you're gonna get better. Don't worry." And I was just like, "This beat sounds so bad. I can't believe it." But then, like, I just kept on practicing, and you know, it's like anything else. You pick it up.
So there you are. You're both young, 12s, 14s, 15s, and stuff like that. Lots of distractions going on in the world for young people at that time. You know, going and playing, kicking ball, whatever. You must have had a real dedication to everything within the music to sort of push that and shun that and push that all aside to continue what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, music then just gave me so much purpose. Like, especially coming from
fantastic.
The background that I've come from. I didn't go to like a very good secondary school. Very working class, and there's a lot of
because you do come across as a couple of posh kids.
We're definitely not. Definitely.
But
not.
even what you're saying within your musical sort of attributes, do you know what I mean? It's a very sort of like, I wouldn't want to say like, you know, a middle class or an upper class kind of like influence, but that's where that usually comes from. That you need that kind of stem to get to there, because obviously there's a lot of distractions. Again, I've referred to that, but there's a lot going on in the world that you could obviously be swayed by. And you've just managed to stick to this dedication of music.
You know, I thought about this and how lucky we are. But I'm thinking, is it luck, or was it
a combination?
I think luck is a big part of it. To be honest, I mean, obviously we've done our own work, and like we definitely, you know, spend the hours studying music, but also other things as well. But to be honest, like, it is also like me going to Leeds of Tomorrow, stuff like that. Me meeting Tomorrow's Warriors. Like, I was very fortunate to be put into those positions. You know what I mean?
It's just like certain people that we've met along.
Exactly.
Completely changed the trajectory that
our whole lives.
Because that's something I'd like to get across in this interview, is the fact that, you know, through support and through other people obviously giving you encouragement and keeping you sort of going along that path, it's giving you a foresight to continue doing what you're doing.
100%.
Yeah. So we're back to the music. We're moving along. We're now at track 1. The first release was My Lady, which again is one of my favourites. And then where did it go from there?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we put out My Lady, there was like a really good reception. I did that on my birthday last year, actually. That was a crazy, crazy day. But it was really good reception. So
let's run us through the day. How was the day?
Man, I think, we probably have to edit that out. But I mean, to be fair, woke up, got pretty lit from very early.
Explain what lit means.
I mean, very intoxicated.
It was your birthday.
Yeah, it was my birthday.
Do you know what I mean?
I hadn't eaten like for hours. So like there was a barbecue going on basically downstairs
for your birthday.
For my birthday, and my housemates like made so much food, and like they were just absolute angels. And I was just like running around the gaff, just getting lit. And then the song being out was amazing because like I was just seeing so many people respond to it, and it was
So
really
what did
great.
you put it out on first? What was your first platform?
It was Spotify. It didn't quite land on Apple Music or YouTube or any of the other ones as yet. But Spotify, this is why we have a good relationship with Spotify.
Love hate.
Because they
as many do, trust me.
Yeah. So they pushed out the track. It started getting the traction.
That's another
straight
fantastic
away.
thing. Yeah. So there's definitely combinations, luck, support.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all come to fruition. You know, so my lady comes out, you're having a great day. I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to say you were lit.
Yeah, I was lit, man.
Intoxicated, having a wonderful day, seeing the numbers start clicking up, responses are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah?
The next one that we put out together, was that Booker T. Washington?
Yeah, it was.
Basically, the reason why I named the track after Booker T. Washington is because the original saxophone audio was made in order to be a track for someone else who wanted to make a track in response to the George Floyd situation. So it was like very much associated with that.
Yeah.
So then I thought, in order to link it in a way that I feel is like cogent and a way that I feel very profound, I linked it to Booker T. Washington because he was born a slave, but then through working extremely hard, he was able to learn how to write. Then he built his own school, and then you come to the school, they teach you how to like work the field, but then also about philosophy and sociology and all these different types of things. And his whole philosophy was about self-determination for Black people and progressing Black people by themselves, essentially. And he got to the point of such high esteem that he was invited to the White House. He was like the first Black man to be invited to the White House, and he basically just changed the landscape.
A groundbreaker.
Yeah, exactly. He was groundbreaker.
Yeah, groundbreaker.
And he's a massive inspiration. So we're like, it's That's
how do you delve into that though? I mean, you know, again, it's something that I find quite interesting that, you know, you're there in a world and you seem to have these influences. Where do you pick them up from? How do you find them? Is this something you seek, or is it something that's put upon you?
Yeah, well, I found out about Booker T specifically through Deji. He's honestly, he's on a constant pursuit for knowledge all the time. So,
yeah.
So he's a big influence in terms of like learning about new people and philosophers and so on. But Booker T. Washington, you might as well talk about Obo because it ties in with a company that Deji's running and setting up.
Yeah, basically, I'm like developing an app, which is, and we've gotten quite far in development of it actually, and it's a directory for Black-owned businesses. So
interesting.
Yeah, so we're taking care of the tech side of it, but we also have a newsletter that I put out bi-weekly, and it's about economics within the Black community, but then also people who have just been groundbreaking throughout Black history, and people that like unsung stories.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Also things that are current. So, like for instance, I recently wrote about the access to information about tech. So, like I've taught myself how to program basically for free off of the internet. And I was just talking about how this can be such a massive resource within the Black community, all the different types of things. And there's several names basically who are like emblems for the organization, like Marcus Garvey, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, even modern people like Thomas Sowell. So many different people that are like big names for the organization. But I'm really grateful that I'm able to like let people know about these people because when I was a kid, I mean, the first time that I heard about Booker T. Washington was when I went to this thing called Leaves of Tomorrow, and I can't sing their praises enough because they just showed me the ropes basically. And they kind of took me as a kid and they were like, yeah, you're from this area where most people are going to end up doing some nonsense. So we're just going to make sure that you broaden your cultural horizon so that you don't block yourself to end up doing whatever else.
Why should you be pigeonholed and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Which again, you know, a lot of people would look upon it and see like, and not to go too far down that road, but you know, two working class kids should be, I don't know, just doing regular stuff. But here you are influenced by the classics, you're influenced by music, you've got this support, you're meeting people outside your usual circles, and it's just giving you more and more to make music.
Yeah, exactly.
And the influences are very, very strong.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the sharing of it all as well is really something to be encouraged by, I think, in today's generation. Do you know what I mean? Because again, there's so many distractions out there. How do you find that you keep that going?
Yeah, I guess I feel like Matt would probably feel the same. Like it's just the path that we're on now. There's no two ways about it.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
We've been fortunate enough to be in a position where you know, we're able to disseminate this information, so we have to, you know. And I feel like that's a big impetus for the whole OWO thing and the newsletter, because if there's at least just one kid who is like in my situation, who I'm able to kind of like enlighten a bit, or let them know.
Enlightenment, that's a fantastic
exactly.
word, isn't it?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes, you know, within the comprehensive system, within the state system, you kind of you become sort of like a tunnel visioned, and you don't get to see outside of it. So you don't see these other influences and what other people have done that you can then take from to enhance yourself. Do you know what I mean? So back to the music. So there you are. You're now on the 4th track. That's where I think we was with.
Second track is Mac and Django, but
second track is Mac and Django, but fourth track as something that was released. So that's the Booker T. Washington. Then we went on to what came next?
That was Prelude, wasn't it?
Yeah, Prelude was next, and that was
Prelude. That's one of the tracks you're going to perform today.
Yeah, exactly.
And that one was quite big because we kind of pushed the sound a little bit more with that one. We spent, how long was it? It was a few. We've been working on Prelude for like 2-3 years or so. 2 years before we released it. Around the same time as My Lady.
Prelude is a funny one though, because I remember like the first time we recorded it, I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't really feeling the way we recorded it. You know what I mean? And like I was like super critical of the track, like super critical of it. But then one day, me and Matt were like, you know what, we're just gonna do this today. Like,
again, you drew the line under it again and said, this is it.
We're doing it today. And then we just bashed it out.
Yeah, definitely. And then it went through about 3 different versions. So we had one version that was kind of like bare bones, and we were just going to release it as that, you know, and but we couldn't. There was so much, there was so much going on with that track, and we just couldn't release it like that. Maybe if we released it like that, it could have been okay.
Yeah, but I don't know about it.
But what makes you? Do you find yourself being perfectionists then? Is that what that is, or just because you want to hear it in a certain way?
I think what it was is we recorded that track around the same time as My Lady, but I feel like when I recorded on My Lady, there was just so much more fury that I put on that track. I was just like, there was just something in me that I had to just with Prelude, like that 2018 period. I wasn't where I currently am with my playing, you know, so I was a bit behind. So like, me just hearing that, I was like, nah, I can do better than this. You know what I mean?
That's professionalism in a sense.
Is what that
is. To be honest though, because like there's some tracks we just kind of bash it out, and then we're like, let's get this out immediately. So in that sense, we're not perfectionists. Like Champagne Lick, for instance. I mean, we'll go on to talk about that, but
I feel like
you know what I mean?
Well, definitely for me,
these two are showing themselves. You know, I'm just going to go and sit in the back and let you two just run the whole thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so you've done that track. The label came along then, or is the label already established?
So we were releasing with the label now. It's just like a umbrella that we're releasing all our things under. So all our tracks is under the label. So and all our
we should give the label a mention.
Oh yeah, Dogon Records.
Dogon Records. Yeah.
So Dogon Records, with the name itself, it's a tribe in Mali. Yeah. And they're a very interesting tribe. They were very advanced in terms of their knowledge. You could call it like esoteric in some ways. They studied the stars. They had a depth knowledge on the biology of humans, of animals and nature and so on. So we just had an affinity with that. And we like.
I love the way you just blurted that out quite casually. Like, you must know the Dogon tribe. How do you know about the Dogon tribe?
That's a great question. I mean, when we were a bit younger, we still were quite inquisitive, and there were certain things that drew our attention, particularly learning about African history, particularly learning about African traditions and African religions and that type of stuff. And the Dogon tribe definitely stuck out to us as something that was quite remarkable in that, you know, they on the caves they had like the central nervous system mapped out, and like the whole way that
ahead of their time, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was like, how do these guys know this stuff? And they were saying that aliens came and visited them to tell them the information. I mean, personally, I don't believe that happened, but it's super. Just the mystery around it is just crazy. And they had like this ceremony every 50 years a dance ceremony that coincided with the procession of Sirius
Yes.
B around Sirius A. And just like all these crazy ideas, it's like what is actually going on. So
and how did they ever get to that?
Yeah, you know what I mean? We still
Yeah,
don't understand, which is I mean, we love mystery, you know. Everyone loves mystery.
But how do young gentlemen find out about that? I mean, does someone give
YouTube,
you a book?
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, literally through YouTube.
Amazing, really?
Yeah.
I'm a big.
So it was your interest. You're going through YouTube. You find something that you're really interested, and then you go in.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. So you've read up on all that kind of stuff and everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Really?
But it's like the interest.
Because you do again something that I find very encouraging is you've got this real classics background. You know what I mean? It's like I would have thought you had gone to a private school. I would have thought
I did go to a private school, a secondary school, and it was a Christian college. So that's I was extremely
because that's what's hit me the most. I mean, from listening to your stuff, the titles, last night I was listening to one of the tracks and I was painting all these visuals in my mind from just the influence of the sounds, and they were all sort of very classical. Something came across, one of the titles. I think it's the My Lady one.
Yeah,
just has this Shakespearean feel to me. For some reason. And again, like I said, through the knowledge and everything that you've been taught, I just find, I mean, now that you've said the Christian school, maybe that's something in it, but yourself, you've not really had that either. How comes you've got such an influence?
I was sixth form though as well. It was basically a private school, for free as well. Which I got to say that did definitely influence.
Really? So it was quite late on, really.
But I guess my interest, my intellectual interests all stemmed from Leaders of Tomorrow. When I was about 12 years old, and they were showing, like, we had to write essays all the time as well about all the different types of things, and they make us read particular things as well, take us to, like, the theatre, take us to these meetings.
So they really broke that sort of cultural... cherry, let's say.
Exactly. For sure. They definitely broadened up my cultural horizons from very young, and just being able to kind of...
But how did you take it on board? How was you taking it at the time? Was that like, this is all a bit too much?
I really loved it. I really enjoyed it all. I really took to it. And
it's strange how when you when you get an opportunity to be influenced by other things, how much it can really resonate within you.
Exactly.
100%. And again, look what it creates.
Yeah.
You've taken that and kind of made it a bit of your own to then create the sound and the label. And I mean, we've got a lot more to look forward to as well from what I gather. I mean,
for sure.
I heard in an interview where you had a live setup coming and then it obviously got stopped because of lockdown. Is that something you're going to pursue as well?
Definitely. So that's going to be bi-monthly. So we're going to do a show once every 2 months. At somewhere called Longfield Hall, so we're looking forward to that. Like just getting back after lockdown and performing, showcasing some of these things live that we've been doing. It's going to be sick.
How do you envision the live shows looking? What will you do? Will you be doing mainly your tracks, or will you be freestyling? How are you going to encompass all of this?
So for the Longfield Hall residencies, it's mainly just going to be me and Matt, and we'll bring guests, but we'll also be kind of hosting the night. So try and make it very interactive with the crowd.
Good idea. Really good idea. Bringing some of this in would be really good.
Yeah.
And again, you seem to have a kind of first for sharing the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good platform, obviously, to share that knowledge.
For sure.
Yeah. I can see there's a lot more coming from you guys. I mean, there really is. This is just obviously the beginning. Even though you've been doing it from the age of 4. And you picked up
piano when I was like 6 or 7.
It's like it's nearly almost nearly 20 years of this coming to this to getting to this point. And yet do you feel like you've just started?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it comes to like jazz drill. This is just the first of many genres that we're going to come up with, to be honest.
Are you worried about getting maybe pigeonholed in the jazz drill thing?
Well, but to be honest, I feel like we have the creative outlook where we don't pigeonhole ourselves, and it's kind of like our own choice.
Niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where we go next is completely down to us. I don't feel like we can get pigeonholed by anyone because. Yeah,
well, you are your own influences right
Yeah.
now as well, aren't you? I think you've kind of put yourselves in a fair standing that, you know, even though you've been influenced, it's now time for you to influence through your music.
One thing though, never say never, because when the media portrays you in a particular way, it might find it more convenient to use something which has become, heavily associated with you. So I do feel like
that's true.
It is very possible that like in 5 years we would have been on to some other thing, and then the media are just like, yeah, the jazz drill guys, and just like, that's 5 years ago. You know what I mean? I kind of have the foresight to be like, yeah, this is almost an inevitability, but at the same time, I feel like the name jazz drill just gives us such a platform, which is
it does resonate. Yeah, it has got a sort of something that you can then go to. It's like a go-to point, exactly. And then you work from there.
Yeah, and especially us coming out as artists under this platform, having no one else do it before us. You know what I mean?
Very true.
It set us apart. So I'm willing to pay the price of being pigeonholed for that reason.
It's a good outlook. I'll tell you, the most I've taken from this interview, and we're going to get to the point where, we obviously everybody out there would love to see the performance. So we're going to sort of round this down a little bit. But the most positive thing I'm getting from you guys is the fact that it's like there's not going to be anything holding you back. You know what I mean? Whether it's the pigeonholing or the stereotyping or anything like that. I mean, you're breaking down barriers all over the show, and you've done that with me today as well. I mean, I'm going to be obviously looking out and listening more to what you'll be doing in the future. So I feel like I said, from the influencers, you've been influenced, but I can see you now being the influencers. Do you see yourselves in that way?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, I'm very grateful that I was able to develop as a person a bit before I came out as an artist as well, because I feel like where I am right now in terms of mentally and artistically is just kind of different from what I see a lot of my peers doing.
For sure.
And it's definitely put me in a position where I can be like, let me show people what it's like to be me, and in that sense influence them. Yeah.
Brilliant.
It's the same with me as well. I feel like we have a responsibility in a lot of ways to put what we know forward, and also like give teachings to the younger generation, because even with me, I have my little sister, she's just learning how to play piano at the moment, and I'm teaching her, and I feel like it's just an inevitable course to go on,
Yeah.
Just a
force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no.
From what just taking from this interview right now, I think there's a lot more to come from Mac and Xvngo. Do you know what I mean?
Man.
No, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No, it's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, Mac and Xvngo.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Well, thank you very much to Mac and Xvngo. That was a wonderful interview. Thank you very much. Now they'll be doing a live performance for you exclusively, featuring tracks Prelude and Requiem. Stick with us. Doing It Productions. Bye.